Thank you for being here today. My question, though, really is, are we really here? We are physically here, but are our minds here? Most presenters will tell you to grab your phone and put those away, but I'm going to do something counterintuitive today. I'd like to have you grab your phones. Actually, pull those out real quick. Yeah, everybody, all the way in the back. Pull out your phones. Log on to Facebook. I'm sure most of you have Facebook, right? I do. We all do. My wife does. We all got Facebook. Pull that out. Log on to Facebook and search A Leading Mind. I'm sure for most of you, if you haven't researched me, George Neiman, let's go ahead and take care of that now. After you search A Leading Mind, scroll down and hit the like button. And now we can go ahead and put away our phones. In today's world, we are very, very busy. We are distracted as a society, right? We've got a million different things going on during a day. We have to check phone, check email, social media, Twitter, you name it. These different media platforms pull us away from being our best. One of the things that this has led to in my personal journey is an association to stress. And the different forms of media connection and all the responsibilities that I've had through my corporate world and corporate experience have caused a significant amount of stress. Did you know, an interesting statistic, that close to 48%, that's right, 48% of individuals lie awake at night thinking about their job, thinking about the responsibilities that they have the following day, thinking about the different stresses that they have and how that's affecting them and their family and their career. That's right, 48%. When I was 22 years old and I had just graduated from the university with banking and finance and economics, I was a competitive individual and I was ready to thrive in my business career. A lot of you, I bet, were probably in those same situations. Right. As I moved into my career, starting out in Des Moines, Iowa, there were two things that were very, very important to me, and maybe this will resonate with some of you. One, money. When I was 22 years old, out of college, I had debt, and money was what motivated me. The second thing that motivated me was status. I wanted to receive as many promotions as I possibly could early on in my career so that I could thrive and move up the corporate ladder. As I progressed through corporate America, moving to different markets throughout the region, I continued to make a significant amount of money. And at that time in my life, it was very important to me. What I quickly realized as I got married and settled down into Omaha, Nebraska, is that things began to change for my wife and I. We had to reevaluate things when we found out one critical component that most people find out if you're married and husband and wife or spouse and significant other, is that you're going to start a family. So my wife and I decided to start a family in 2004. And we had a little bit of a shock. When we went to the doctor to find out that we were pregnant, we found out that we were pregnant with triplets. That's right. Is there anybody out here that has multiples? Twins? Triplets? Hopefully there's nobody out there that has quads, because if you do, we need to get a cup of coffee afterwards, so come look me up, all right? Here's a picture of my wife and I when we found out that we were pregnant with triplets. This is me weighing in at 205 pounds with my wife, pregnant at the time, outside of a buffet, because that's where we hung out, was to eat. And yes, it's true, I was a sympathetic eater with my wife. I had to keep up with her and gain like she did. When we found out that we were pregnant with triplets, we were very naive. We thought we were going to give birth to the kiddos and that they were going to come home healthy and happy, and we had prepared as such. But much to our dismay, when our triplets were born, we quickly found out that they needed to spend some time in the hospital. Here's a picture of our infants when they were first born. This is my daughter here on the top left, my son on the right, and my other daughter down here on the left. As you can see, this was a very, very difficult time for my wife and I and all of our family and all of our friends. Our one little girl we were able to bring home after 30 days in the hospital. Our daughter Reese, in the bottom picture, was able to come home after 60 days. But our son, he had a pretty tough road. We found out from a doctor, a neonatologist, that came to Kim and I and said, "Do you have a minute?" And that's when our hearts sank. Do you have a minute? He told us during that time that if my son did not respond to this final round of steroids, that he was on his own, that he wasn't going to make it. And that was a tough, tough time. Needless to say, he did get over the hump and receive the steroids, and we are all now home and happy. But this was the big change in my career and my life, was to understand that there was more to life than money and getting promotions and moving up the corporate ladder. This reset our life. My wife and I made the decision to move back to Wyoming to be closer to our family and to raise our triplets in a small community. And in doing so, I fell back into this trap. As I really think about it and reflect on it, I fell back into the trap of chasing the dollar. And identity and the purpose that was driving me at that juncture in time was hitting me all over again. The status, the promotions, the moving up within corporate America. And I got frustrated, and I began to get into the grind of corporate America. And this began to cause a lot of stress between myself and my family, and I thought to myself, here we go again. And I'll never forget the time that I was so stressed with work and stressed of the responsibilities and stressed of something that I really didn't enjoy doing. I then came to the conclusion that I needed to do something different. And I went home to my wife and I said, I can't do this anymore. There's got to be a better way. And my wife said, okay, well, that's great, George, but what are you going to do to support our family? Well, during the prior couple of years, I'd always had a passion for what drives people, what motivates people. And that's always kept me in touch with sharpening my saw, trying to get better, trying to motivate people, trying to motivate myself. And this led to a study on mindset, which then got a little bit deeper into neuroscience. And that actually led to a relationship with Dr. Etienne van der Walt. Dr. Etienne and his team at NeuroZone have created a model for brain performance. And this really started to align for me, because what I figured out was I was chasing status, money, promotions, but there was something always missing. There was this empty feeling. And I'm sure a lot of you that are out here present today have had that same empty feeling, that what you're doing on a day-to-day basis does not matter. That I wake up and I go to work and I clock in and I clock out and I go home and I make a meal and I spend time with the kids and I go to bed and I wake up and do it all over again. Well, Dr. Etienne was a very inspirational person in my life that encouraged me to stay in this space. And so as I began to study more and more on neuroscience and leadership and brain performance, I now have had the opportunity to go out and speak in front of stages just like this, to give you the opportunity to make the shift that I have made. It is possible, and there is a better way. My relationship with Dr. Etienne is actually quite intriguing in how our two stories align. Dr. Etienne was a practicing medical doctor in the field of neurology, and he got tired of seeing burned out executives suffering from chronic stress, really just like me, right? Just like me, just like what I went through in my career. He thought there's got to be a better way, and so he went out to create a brain performance assessment, a brain performance diagnostic that actually looks to enhance the brain-body system, really to create a better, more well-balanced you. And this really resonated with me because I thought to myself, wow, how could I take my experience in corporate America, my experience in sports and athletics and education, and bring that to a stage just like this, to give you the opportunity, just like I had, to live a more thriving life. So let's cover that here just real quick. I want to show you his brain performance model that they've created at NeuroZone. There's 10 performance drivers. At the top, you see exercise, nutrition, sleep-wake cycle, and silencing the mind. This is what Dr. Etienne and his team call the 4 foundational drivers. Well, again, as I reflect back, and as many of you probably do in the crowd, these are some that we really take for granted, right? Oh, come on, George, we've always known about exercise. Oh, nutrition, oh, I should do that too. But how many of us really understand the fundamental impacts that lacking in these areas has on our brain-body system? The 3 categories at the bottom are what we call the emotional drivers. They are social safety, goal-directedness, collective creativity. And this is where we actually spend a lot of our time when we work with our clients around the world. Social safety, some fascinating research out there just recently on our ability to feel safe in our environment. If our brain-body system does not feel safe, if we are not engaged, we in neuroscience step out of the in-group and we become part of the out-group. And when that happens, we pull back our energy, we pull back our resources, and we pull back our commitment to our company and to our lives and to our family. That's not a good thing, right? I think everybody would agree. Collective creativity is, in essence, teamwork, and goal-directedness is not goal setting. It's actually how we go about seeking reward in order to survive in life. And the top 3 are what we call the higher order functions. They are executive function, abstraction, and learning. And this is actually the part of our front part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, where we do a lot of our problem solving and thinking and the CEO of the brain. So this model is extremely powerful. And when you maximize these 10 drivers of performance, it actually leads to the outcomes of self-leadership. I believe when we're in an environment right now where you have to lead yourself. Number 2, innovation capacity. Our ability to keep our brain-body system in a relaxed physiological state is where we learn and innovate and create the best. That leads to learning capacity. We know that in a relaxed physiological state is where we can learn and grow at our best. And the 4th, which is really interesting, is resilience. Our ability to become more resilient as individuals, as fathers, as mothers, as corporate executives, as teachers, as coaches. Resilience is vitally important for us to thrive in life. By optimizing these 10 drivers of performance, it will lead you to having better relationships at work, becoming more attentive and focused, making you more productive at work, enhancing your relationships with your kids, really becoming a better parent. And really, in some situations, maybe it's not hitting the snooze button anymore. You jump out of bed, ready to go. You've already done the first step, which is getting here today. The second step is answering this one question: are you willing to do the work?